Happy Thursday, everybody! I'm back, and I have a new author that has joined us for the 12 Days of Page Turners Author Talk Shorts. Julie Connor is with me this afternoon. So, Julie, welcome. Tell us a little bit about the genre you write in and how you kind of became a writer.
Oh, hi, Amy. Thanks for having me on your program today. I actually am not stuck with one genre. I switch around. Mainly, I'm a nonfiction writer focused on travel. But as it happens, I also have a children's book out. And in the future, I have plans to do other things. So basically, you could think of me as a nonfiction writer for now, but I do have a fiction book out. That's my children's book, and I'm going to be writing more fiction in the future. The one thing I can say categorically I do not do is poetry. I don't do poetry.
Oh, hey, I understand that. I feel I have very high respect for poets because that is just very difficult. Very difficult. I find just sometimes to read it and understand it, and it's so elegantly done. You're just like, oh, this is just a masterpiece. So it would be incredibly difficult. But tell us a little bit about the two nonfiction books that you currently have.
Well, my nonfiction book, my first book that I had published, is called Savoring the Camino de Santiago. And it is both a guidebook to the Camino de Santiago and a memoir. And the memoir is me having walked the Camino in 2016 with my son. Now, the Camino de Santiago, for those who don't know about it, is an ancient pilgrimage trail that goes from wherever you start, but ends up at Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain, which is the burial site of St. James the Apostle. So it has become extremely popular over the last 30 years, let's say, for people to walk the Camino. And in my case, I walked from the French side of the Pyrenees in a small town called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and over the Pyrenees on the very first day, and then all the way across northern Spain to Santiago, which is quite near the Atlantic coast of Spain. It
Wow.
was a great adventure, and it's one I highly recommend. So for people, I think the book is best for people who don't know about the Camino and would like to learn about it, because I include history and art and architecture. Or for someone who's thinking about walking the Camino and wants to know what that's like, because I give suggestions and tips. And I also have my own memoir of my Camino in there. So you can see what it requires and what it's like if you're interested in walking the Camino.
I love it. I love it. I first heard about the Camino from your book, Julie, from hearing you talk about your book, and I have your book, and that's when I feel like I should have known about that a long time ago, but I didn't. I learned about it from you. But I see up here on your website, you have another book that's been a grand prize winner, a first place. Tell us a little bit about this book, The Baby with
Well,
Three Families.
that's my children's book, and it is fictional, not non-fictional.
Okay.
However, it is based on my own experiences in adopting a child. But my son is grown now. He's 30 years old. So he was adopted quite a long time ago. And at the time that I adopted him, I was looking for a book that I could read to him, because all the experts say you should tell your child they're adopted right away and forever. They should never be surprised when they're older to find out they're adopted, because they can feel like they've been lied to or deceived or secret kept from them. So you just tell them. But I told him I wanted to have a book to read to him. And this was pre-Amazon, pre-internet, pre-everything. I looked around, I couldn't find any book. So I wrote my own little book, very personalized just for him, and I'd read it to him. And I did that until I was sure that he understood that he was adopted and what adoption was all about. And then I put it away. So fast forward 30 years, basically, and we're in the middle of the pandemic, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do, which was go research my second book. So instead, I said, let me see if there's a good book now on adoption. And now with Amazon, I went right to Amazon and started looking at all the books on adoption. And there still are not that many books for children on adoption. There's a lot for adults, but not that many for children. And then when I looked at what there was for children, they were not the kinds of books that I was seeking. Now, the books are cute, they're nice, they're cute little books about an animal adopting a different kind of animal and focusing on the adopted mother and the adoptive animal. And so they're sweet books, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted a book that would explain how the adoption journey is for people.
Right.
So I wrote that book, and that's my second book.
I love it. And I love that it was, you wanted to have a book to read to your son. So is this the version that you would read to your son, or how does this feed into that?
No, I changed quite a bit. I generalized it, and that's one of the points I make in the book. I think families can take my book and use it as a base, but then they
Mhm.
make it their own, make it their and their child's own story. So the book is designed for children who are pre-reading or just beginning to read. So parents can substitute names. They can say their child's name instead of the name of the child in the book. They can add the name of their parents for the grandparents. They can change the country where the child is being adopted from. They can make it theirs. They can rip out pages. I don't care what they do with it. It should be their book to tell their child about that family's adoption journey. And I really hope they will make the book their own.
See, I love that, Julie. For me, I feel like the common denominator with your books, besides, that you wrote them, is, the Savor the Camino de Santiago is a travel guide, and it's a memoir. And it's also, kind of, to me, it educated me about that trail, right? I had no idea that that was even there, the pilgrimage that went on, that you could do that, right? And so it's an, and to me, I find both books that you wrote inspirational, because even your adoption book, you're inspiring parents to have the conversation with, children that they've adopted, but to make it their own, right? Which is what you did also with your nonfiction. And so I find you to be very inspirational, Julie. I love it. At least did
Well,
it
oh,
to
thank
me.
you, Amy. That's a good word. I guess I have to try to be careful not to be preachy to people. Um, I think I do have an element in my character of being a teacher. I like to help people learn about things. And in both instances, there's a lot people don't know. Many people do know about the Camino now, but many more have never heard of it. And in
Right.
the case of adoption, even people who know about adoption don't necessarily know anything about international adoption. And the book is about international adoption.
Yeah.
So, did you know you had to go get your brand new baby a visa, for example? Well, he's my baby. I'm American. He's American. No, he's not, or she's not. You have to go through the whole naturalization process, and you have to get a visa for your child to even bring them into the United States. So, I don't go into that in depth, but I talk about it because it is an important step for the child to be able to legally enter the United States.
Yeah, and I think it's they're important conversations to have, right? I mean, your journey and why savored the Camino de Santiago, which you just say so much more elegant than I do. I butcher it, but it flows right out. It just is wonderful. But you kind of have the you know, conversation starters, I would say, like talking about the Camino de Santiago and your experience and why you did it and the process through it, right? And the same, with the adoption book, which I find to be fascinating. So I want to dive in a little bit as to what was that pivotal moment in your life or anything like that where you decided that you were going to write a book and you were going to publish it and you were going to become a published author. What was that journey like for you?
Well, actually, I always thought I was going to be a writer. And in fact, I always was a writer, but I was not writing books. I was writing on the job, as my job as a diplomat. I was writing speeches for the ambassador. I was writing press releases. I was writing news stories. I was writing reports for Washington, but it just wasn't book form. So back when I was young, I had gotten a master's degree in creative writing, and I thought I was going to be a writer at that point. But life takes strange turns, and I ended up as a diplomat. So I spent 33 years at that career. I loved it. But when I retired, I said, no, now I'm going to write. And I only plan to write. But as I'm writing, I discovered that the whole world of publishing has gone through a dramatic change. Just like newspapers, there used to be hundreds of newspapers, but they've gone out of business. and we're down to a few very big, very famous newspapers like the Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times. But even they're struggling. Why? Because everything has become digital. And that same thing is happening in publishing. So I said, okay, well, everyone is having to learn this whole new world of digital publishing. If I have to learn it, maybe I can share my learning with other people so they don't have to go through this trial of figuring it out. And again, that's a little bit of that teaching component. I have this knowledge, I want to share it with you. And that's how I became a publisher.
Oh, I love that. I never knew that about you. I love it. It's crazy how, I feel like in life we all have seasons, right? We have seasons that we go through, and each time a season ends and a new one starts, it's always like emotional, but then exciting. Like something exciting happens, you're like, all right, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to do this, right? And I don't know, I think it helps us be able to adapt and do things like that. So I'm glad that you finally, when you retired, had that opportunity to be the writer that you wanted to be, because you have a beautiful way of writing, and your books are very beautifully written. So I admire that, because I'm not a writer, Julie. You hear me say this all the time. I have never written a book, but if I was ever going to, I would aspire to write as beautifully and elegantly as you write, which I feel like is, to me, setting myself up for failure. But I am, I'm going to strive for that one day. One day, Julie, I'm going to get there.
You're too kind, Amy. My writing, I used to be, people would say, you write like a man, which I think I do, because it's more like Hemingway, short sentences and factual. It's not flowery. It's not a lot of adjectives. It's not taking you down lots of byways. It's pretty much, let's say, journalistic style.
I love that, though, because it's very much like to the point, what you need to know. But it's the way that, for me, I guess it's written, that I'm just like, man, like, why can't I be like this? Like, it's just great. Like, I don't know. I don't know the best way to describe it, but I read it and I'm just like, man, I wish I could just write like this. It would be.
And I wish I had your talents, Amy. I wish I could go on TikTok and promote my books, but that's not me. That's not me.
So you've decided to join me and my crazy self for the 12 Days of Page Turners, which is December 1st through the 12th. You're going to be joining me on December 5th at 7 p.m. Central. So without telling us what promotion you're going to be doing this holiday season, can you give me a little hint towards what it is going to revolve or be about?
Well, actually, I'm going to offer a promotion on all of my products, which are my 2 books. But I'm also going to be offering a promotion on something that I didn't make or design or do, but which I sell, which is decorations. Most of them are of literary characters, but some of them are just other things. So, for example, you see up at the top, you have William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, and Charles Dickens. That whole top row is all literary figures. But I also have the bottom row, the scallop shell, and the horse, and the armored knight, all have a figure or part of the story of the Camino de Santiago. And the horse is going to be relevant to my next book about the Camino, which I'm writing. And then the Viking there are also Viking touches, if I can say that, along the Camino. So they're either literary figures or they're related to my books. And you can't find these anywhere else. So not only am I offering them for sale, but I'm going to be offering them at a discount.
Ooh, okay. I love them. You always are full of surprises with me, Julie, and I love it. I'm excited about the 12 Days of Page Turners. It's going to be so much fun. We have a bunch of different authors. But I will say, Julie, I have interviewed some of the other authors on December 5th, and it's going to be a great lineup. I'm really excited about December 5th. You're going to be there. Doug's also going to be there. Pauline's going to be there, and some others that we're going to have on the Author Talk Shorts in the near future. But it's signing up to be one of my favorite nights. Let me just say.
Well, I hope people do turn in. It's a Monday night, and I think, oh, that's probably the worst night of the week, because people are free or they want to do something special on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. But Monday night is, oh no, it's the start of the work week. I've got to go to bed so I can get up and work. So I do hope people are excited by the chance to hear us and to talk with us and to comment and so forth.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be such a fun time. We're going to have so many holiday promotions. You're not going to know what to do with yourself. All the variety is going to be there, from books to, like Julie was saying, to ornaments. And then we have other things for authors and writers and publishers that are going to be coming in the near future. But Julie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and talk to me, and for joining me on the 12 Days of Page Turners this year. You were a part of it last year, and I'm so excited that you're coming back. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for organizing it, Amy. It's my pleasure to be a part of this.
Oh, anytime. Well, you guys, we got more Author Talk shorts coming the whole month of November, so make sure you check them out. But we'll catch you guys all next time. Until then, bye, everybody.